Ask any of your favorite YouTubers, and chances are they've made content based on the performance of the show Batwoman. Whether it's the reviews that shoot holes in the show, or even the ratings that have dropped like a rock since the very first episode, somebody somewhere that you know or follow has talked about the program. And, you know, it's typical grist for the mill because it's not a high quality show. But Batwoman in and of itself was going to have a rough start from the very beginning, because no matter what, it was going to air on the CW. Now, the CW is the home of the Berlanti-Verse, which is what I think we should be calling it now, rather than the Arrowverse. And originally, going back into 2015, it was rather, well, liked. It was highly thought of. The 2015 era of the CW had shows that were being consumed by the primary demographic, which was skewed much younger, somewhere between 15 and 30. Although they were targeting a female audience, they happened to hit some magic spots with the males in the audience who were still consuming product in 2015 on the CW through traditional terrestrial television, which, you know, that started to fade pretty dramatically. But it did pull in the demographic that they were shooting for, and of course one that, you know, they weren't. They just kind of hit the magic number with Supernatural and The Flash and other amazing programs like that. Well, it doesn't do that anymore, and it really doesn't do that with Batwoman, because they can't even get the female audience that they're targeting interested in the show. And it doesn't make financial sense for Batwoman to continue with season 2, and it certainly doesn't make financial sense, you know, to most people to have greenlit a season 3, which seems to be some debate about whether or not that'll actually be made, but hey, we'll get to that in another video, I'm sure. So, why are companies like Warner and CBS, who originally partnered to create the CW out of UPN and the WB, why are they still making this trash, I guess is the real question. Well, let's talk about it.
Ladies and gentlemen, hiss and foes, welcome to the Culture Casino!
Batwoman is not a good show, and honestly it never was going to be. The entire premise and characterization of the titular character was her victimhood status. Victimhood status, that's right. Anything and in every way she was abused in her life, and because of her general makeup. She could never evolve beyond her immutables, and that stuck her in a very deeply uninteresting place, so to speak, anyway. The show itself had been rumored to be one of the cheapest on the Arrowverse in terms of costs, especially with changing the lead for Season 2, and cast members being paid on the lower end of the spectrum, which makes a lot of sense, with the exception of Ruby Rose and Dougray Scott. They really didn't have a lot of well-known actors and actresses in the program. To be fair, for her part, Ruby Rose was paid about $1.5 million for her 20-run episode, which put her on the higher end, around $75,000 an episode, although I'm sure that number would have come down a little had they done all 22 episodes as they had planned. Now, I haven't been able to unearth what they're paying Javicia Leslie for her role, but I doubt it's more than what Ruby Rose was making. In fact, I would guess that it was a little bit less, maybe substantially less, which would be a real shame. But the most interesting character on the show, if you ask anyone, including my buddy Etep Wakuian on the Place to Be reviews, Alice was probably the most interesting character. And that's actually not surprising, because she's the only one that ever appears to be actually interested in playing the character. And she seems very committed to her role on the show, and, you know, I kind of enjoy that, even if it's a little bit overacted at times. Now, Dougray Scott probably takes home a pretty decent chunk of change for his part, but he phones in his role with, let's say, barely veiled self-loathing. And boy, does that show. Now, it's quite possible with all of the costs associated with this program that it costs less than $1 million an episode. Maybe a little more, maybe a little less, but somewhere in there. Strangely, the advertisement cost for this show, even despite its just abysmal ratings, shot up 27% to $47,421. Somebody's paying that, guys, for a 30-second spot on the national broadcast. Now, this makes very little sense in the fact that the show consistently, over its first season, lost viewership, and substantially at the end was just tailing into numbers that, I don't know. Unsupportable numbers would probably be the best way to put it. Throughout the entire year last year, the show was failing. Now, of course, we're talking about the national TV commercial time, which makes up the majority of the commercial spots that are sold. Now, you do have some local affiliate spots that are sold. Now, those are sold at a much lower rate at the cost or price that the individual markets will bear. And the affiliates actually make some money on this, which is why they pay exorbitant affiliate fees every single year. But let's get back to the national. It's about 12 minutes worth of ads per episode that are nationally aired. So the yield would be about $500,000 or just a little more. A little more than 500,000, 550,000, hard to say, but somewhere in there. And those ads are even being fractionalized because of the increase in 15-second ads. I don't know if you've noticed, but you're getting more shorter ads in your television programming, especially on the CW. Now, this means that the program is being produced and presented as a loss leader, at least in the case of Batman, and probably many others, and especially for a show like Charmed, right? And that's because they're amortizing those costs into the gross affiliate fees, and obviously the potential streaming content that this creates for, I don't know, original programming on the platforms like in this specific case, HBO Max. Now, the reason they're able to do that is because Warner's actually paying for all of the costs here associated with the production, despite, again, the CW is technically a joint venture between Viacom CBS and Warner. But pretty much Warner's been footing the bills for these shows for quite some time in the Berlanti-Verse. So, like I said, they're utilizing the affiliate costs to offset making these shows and being able to put them on their streaming platform, which actually is undermining their bottom line, because the affiliate fees for, let's say, we'll use big examples like NBC and Disney, they were charging about $1.5 to $2 billion worth of affiliate fees to all the affiliates that carried their programming, the carriage contracts. And those fees were gravy because they were essentially just bottom line to these large companies. So they're actually sacrificing, in the case of Warner, sacrificing revenue that was always been essentially there just to produce stuff that nobody's going to watch. Consider this. You oftentimes have less than 400,000 people watching Charmed and just over 400,000 watching Batwoman. And many of the other programs on the CW suffer greatly. The Sunday time slot used to be something that was coveted. And primetime, of course, is very important, and the CW is still treated like a broadcast national network. Yet it brings in numbers consistently underneath most cable programming. I don't know. It doesn't make a lot of sense, but at least there's an explanation, and that is they're utilizing the CW for content for their streaming service, HBO Max. I'm not sure why other programs still exist that are underperforming on other networks, and someday we may dive into those, but I guess this is the way forward for content for HBO Max right now. I don't know. I don't know how much longer the CW can survive. There isn't the viewership. There's not the support. As we see, the audience is skewed dramatically, much, much older across the entire breadth of broadcast television here nationally in the United States, as more and more people either wise up and cut the cord, or the younger generation just goes to straight up streaming. And they're abandoning shows. They're in favor of course, the great content here on platforms like YouTube and many others, and the OTT broadcast channels that are also on streaming. I mean, that's where they are. Anyway, we can talk about all of that in the future. I'm sure we will. Thank you for watching this short video on what's going on with Batwoman, why maybe it still exists, why possibly it's going to make a season 3. It doesn't make any sense, but maybe. Just thank you overall for your support. Be sure to check out other independent creators here on the platform. We have some amazing folks doing amazing things, from comics to video creation. We even have people making game shows, all kinds of other fun stuff here on this platform, and they need your support because, hey, as an independent, they're not represented by large organizations and are not usually promoted on the platform. But as I always end every video, be sure to take care of yourself, take care of others, wash your hands, of course, because it's good hygiene. And until next time, bye.
Thanks for visiting today. Be sure you're subscribed and hit that for alerts.
Yay!
Of course, like and share all of the videos that you can, as it helps with the algorithm. Have a great day.